Hello, my wonderful Middletown engineers, and actually maybe some engineers outside of Middletown too. But today we're going to be looking at the making a button lessons on tinkercad. This was an optional assignment given to periods 1, 2, and 3 because I got one more day with them due to the new scheduling changes. So hopefully some people rack up some bonus points on this assignment, and I'm going to get into how to do it and the exact details of what you guys need to make for me. Um, so first, we're going to go to tinkercad, and I say this is an optional assignment, but it's worth just as much as any other assignment. So if you miss an assignment or something, this might be a good thing to do to make up some points. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go on tinkercad.com. You're going to have to make sure that you're logged into your account. We've gone over that a few times, so hopefully that shouldn't be a problem. To get to the making a button lessons, we're going to go to learn. We're going to go to lessons. We're going to click see all lessons. And we have a few making a button lessons. So we're going to start with basic button. And then I had asked the class to go into either making a flower button or a duffel button, both of which start using like copying shapes. The duffel button uses some rotation in it. Or heart button, which also uses some rotation in it. So we're going to make the basic button. To get full points on this assignment, you want to go into basic button, make that, then make one of these three, duffel, flower, and heart. And then you want to make the bat button. So this is kind of like the final button for me to make sure you kind of know what's going on. This uses a lot of holes, grouping, copying and pasting, and a small amount of rotation. So this uses all the skills that we're going to have to use of these buttons. And then finally, I want you guys to show off your mastery of these skills by making these skull or teddy bear buttons or a button design of your own. So I had a student make some spider buttons that we printed out in class. I had a student make some teddy bear buttons that we had printed out, and I'd printed out for them. So props for to those students. And like I mentioned, if you make a button you like, your own custom design or something else that you just really like, we could print those out for you. So assuming you're one of my students. So let's start with the basic button. I'm going to go over this to make sure that you guys know everything you need to make the other ones. Actually, I'm going to do basic button. So I'm going to do basic button. So let me restart this project. So with all of these buttons, we're going to start, just like with all of our other tinkercad projects, we're going to start by dragging a shape into the workspace, after it loads, of course. So I'm going to grab my cylinder, and I'm going to drag it into the workspace. Okay. Whenever we're in a lesson, we're going to have instructions on the left side. So as we can see, our first instruction is to drag a cylinder into the workspace. I've done that step, so I'll click next. Now it wants me to scale it down to a specific height. So let's scale it down to 2 millimeters. I can do that by clicking this and dragging it down to 2. Or maybe I'm on a trackpad, it's not that accurate. I'm using a Chromebook to, give you guys the most authentic viewing experience. I'm using the same thing you guys are. So instead, I'll click this button at the top, and then I'll select the number here. I could click the resize button, and then click the number, and I can set it to 2 manually. So I could set it straight to 2 without having to worry about clicking and dragging. I'm going to click next, and now it wants to scale it down to a diameter of 16. So a diameter refers to a circle. It refers to the line that crosses from one side of the circle to the other, going through the center. So what the diameter kind of means is that if we can fit this circle into a square that's 16 by 16, that will mean that our circle has a diameter of 16. So if we have these measurements for the side, let me close this box out by clicking this little arrow. So if we take these two measurements when we're resizing it and set them to 16 and 16, that'll make sure our shape has a diameter of 16. Now you can see this definitely starting to look like a button. You know, we have a flat little circle. I'm going to line it up right with the hint, and I'm going to go on to the next step. Next, it wants us to put our holes in. This is something we had done in the original tinkercad lessons that hopefully everyone's completed by now. I'm not really going to look at their measurements anymore. You guys definitely can. I'm not grading you guys on giving the specific measurements, but I would like to see things like alignment and making sure things are aligned and making sure things look good in general. But as long as you show that you guys are doing kind of well, it'll be full points. So I just shrunk. I took a cylinder, I shrunk it down, I just resized it down, and now it's here. We want this cylinder to form a hole in our button so that maybe we could string it onto our clothes when we 3D print it, something like this. So to turn any shape we want into a hole, we can click on the shape to select it, and then we have this option up here. It says shape, and these are all the details about our shape. So we have all kinds of options down here to change our shape around. We can change the color here. Not that color really does anything in Tinkercad, but and here is the button we want to use, which is hole. This will turn our shape into this transparent thing. This represents a hole. So buttons are going to have two holes. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to hit Control C to copy it and Control V to paste. I'm just going to slide it over a little, and I'll group this all together. So to group, we're going to click and drag to create a box around our shapes that we want to group. It'll select all of those shapes. We can see we now have 3 shapes selected. And then just above this, we have the group button. This will let us group all of our shapes together. When you group a hole with a solid shape, it puts the hole into the shape. So now we have our button. Just from what we've seen in this video, you guys should be able to complete the other button tutorials that are listed out by following the steps in the instructions and using what we talked about in this video. A few common problems that people have doing those lessons is with the flower problem, with the flower button. They have flowers that come out looking something like this, where essentially what they want is like the general flower shape, but they have all these lines through their flowers. The way to get rid of all these lines, this is because these circles are not grouped. This is a bunch of separate circles. For the flower, you want to group them together and then put the holes in. This will give us our flower shape for the flower button, and it won't give us all these weird lines. Another tip is that for the heart button, people often have a problem with rotation. So part of the heart problem, part of the heart button wants you to do a rotation with a square. So for the heart, we can just take our square. Let me put in another thing to represent the heart. We can take our square and we can click this arrow on the side. It's a curved line with 2 arrows on it. And we can drag this to rotate the square to start forming our heart for our heart button. So that would be how we do our heart button, is by rotating a square. And these measurements aren't perfect. This was very quickly done, but that's kind of the idea for the heart button. One last thing about the heart button was that, maybe that's it. There was definitely another common problem with the heart button. You guys could skip through this video for a second. I'm going to think to myself and figure out what the other common issue was. Okay, maybe not. All right, well, I'm going to cut the video off here. Again, if you guys have any questions about how to do the work, you could always ask me, email me, shoot me an email, and Other than that, I really implore you. I think these are things you could figure out on your own. The lessons that you have to do are listed at the beginning of the video. They all have instructions on the side, and we went through the specific tools and buttons you would have to click. Oh, one more quick tip. This is what I remember. This is what I wanted to say about the heart. Sometimes students will accidentally rotate their shape the wrong way. Once you rotate a shape incorrectly, it becomes really hard to rotate it back to normal. So let's say I wanted to rotate this back to more normal. Maybe it was like, so I want it to be like flattened out. No, that doesn't look exactly right. So it becomes a real challenge to get the shape rotated back to normal. So if you make a mistake like that, instead of trying to figure it out for 30 minutes, how to undo it, you can just hit Control Z, and each time you press Control Z, it will undo the last mistake you made. It'll undo the last thing you did. So this is where I was. Then I started making some mistakes. So I Control Z back to here to where I could start working again. If I press it more, it's going to start undoing my work. So there I just lost an important rotation. Now I've lost one of my circles that I had made. So you have to be careful with this Control Z thing. But if you do make one mistake, just carefully just press Control Z once, and it'll undo your mistake. If you see your mistake's gone, you can start working from there. Worst case scenario is you lose like one step of actual work. Alrighty. So that's going to be the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. Again, this isn't like mandatory, but I'd love to see your work. And if you make a nice custom original button, we can print them out for you, and maybe so a little button, and maybe you can have your own custom original button, maybe like an anime character, a basketball, whatever, and you can 3D print it and like sew it onto your clothes or something, or have an adult do that. But yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you all in class. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys all in person as you start coming into school, and I will see you on Monday. Bye, everyone.